This series is meant to help people that want to visit southern African countries figure out what to expect, the safety of traveling there, prices and photography opportunities. So let's start with Namibia. It's a very orderly country. It's like a Germany in Africa, if you will, with a small population of 2.5 million something people. They are very friendly and service-minded in Namibia. You won't find any trouble there, and it's quite cheap, much cheaper than Botswana, for example. I've had no problems whatsoever, just the normal safety rules apply. Be mindful, especially in the big cities like Windhoek. They have a very varied landscape in Namibia, so you'll find anything from deserty landscapes to the sea to desert and the sea, and it's amazing. It's very arid, meaning a dry country, so you have some interesting opportunities when it comes to landscape photography. I've taken some of my favorite images in Namibia, and I did not think I would be a landscape photographer or find landscape photography interesting at all. It's awesome to drive around in Namibia, and like every 200 kilometers you have a change in the scenery, especially if you drive from west to east or vice versa. As mentioned, it's very varied, so you have a lot of interesting opportunities to work with. Very good for landscape photographers, I think, especially in places like Sossusvlei and Deadvlei. You also have some cool opportunities by the coast. The coastline, or the Skeleton Coast, has some shipwrecks scattered around, and you can get some really cool shots there as well. And I think even in the desert there are some shipwrecks you can find out in the desert somewhere. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but they are quite famous. Etosha is the biggest national park, and it has 4 of the big 5, missing only the buffaloes. And we had rhino sightings every day, which was really nice. Especially nice because it was a black rhino, the more rare of the species. And it's good to see that Namibia takes good care of their rhinos. And the waterholes at some of the camps are absolutely amazing. You can sit there by nights and it's lit up by floodlights. It's actually a great idea to sit there in the mornings or in the afternoons to see what comes and drink there. You can find lions, you can find giraffes, you'll find rhinos and all sorts of antelopes that will come in the morning especially, and in the afternoon. We had some excellent elephant sightings in Halali, I think it was. That was also my favorite waterhole in any of the camps we stayed in. You pay 3 types of fees when you go into the parks. I can only speak for Etosha because that's where we really spent most of the time when going into the parks. You'll have a conservation fee of $10 US, then you have a vehicle fee of $3 US, then you have a camping fee for around $30 US when you do the self-driving safari like we do and pick the cheapest option, which is camping. You can also stay at accommodation, which is chalets of various sizes and prices. I'll link to the resources down below so you can plan according to your budget. There is no problem crossing the borders. Just don't bring any eggs, meat or dairy items. We had an incident crossing over from South Africa. We accidentally forgot a 6-pack of eggs in one of our storage room in the camper. So the lady at the border told us we must bring the eggs back to South Africa. I don't know what her problem was, but obviously we didn't. We just threw them away. The lady at the other gate said, just never mind, you can drive. So we threw them out, and that was not a problem at all. An email inquiries when you want to book something usually gets a fast response. And I would say that you should book any of the popular spots, especially in Etosha, in advance. I would say 4 to 6 months in advance should be fine. We did it just 3 days before in Etosha and that was fine, but it was going over to the low season. A minimum amount of days when you want to stay at popular spots such as Etosha or Sossusvlei would be 4 to 5 days. If you are into photography, then you can also get some activities done, because there are a lot of activities that you can do in these parks. Especially at Etosha, you can do morning drives, evening drives and even night drives. They are all guided if you don't want to do the driving yourself after so many days of self-driving such as we do. And if you decide to visit Sossusvlei, that I absolutely recommend, try to book a camp inside of the park, because then you can drive ahead of everybody else that has to wait for the gate to open at 6. I think you can drive at 5, so you can go to Sossusvlei and get that awesome morning light, because it is a 70-kilometer drive to get there. Then you have to park the car or drive the last 5 kilometers or so to the last parking spot where you can walk into Sossusvlei, and that is something you should definitely do. The light in there is absolutely magical, and you can get some really cool shots early in the morning. In Etosha, I'd say stay at least a week. We had 6 nights there, and I wish we had 5 more, because it was so cool to do photography and just drive around in Etosha. It was very hot. In October we had 40 plus degrees some days, so that was a little bit too much for us, but still it was so worth the visit. We saw so many cool things, and the light and the scenery was magnificent to do photography in. And speaking about Etosha, booking campsites is actually a little bit tricky, because they don't have campsites specified when you want to make a booking inquiry. You have to email them and specify that you want to stay in the campsites, and then they will send you a quotation. That was a little bit weird, I think, because it would have made it so much easier. So we emailed them, we got the quotation, and we paid for it. No problems at all, but just FYI. You can see a lot in the country as a whole for 3 weeks. I think that would be a good amount of time to spend there if you want to do photography or just travel around. You can see so many cool things there. And the peak season is from June till October. That's when it's dry and most of the animals come to the waterholes to drink, so you'll have a good chance of seeing all the animals that you want to see in Africa. In the rainy season, the game or the animals, they disperse and they go into the bush, so you won't see that much. That goes for all southern Africa. But you have a change of landscape, which is also kind of interesting, but something to have in mind if you come to Africa to see all the animals you've wanted to see for a long time. Now, as the sun is setting, let's talk a little bit about the secret locations. The first one being Spitzkoppe. It's not really a secret location, but it's a great spot where you can do hikes, you can do walks, and you can do landscape photography and just enjoy some incredible sunsets and sunrises. They also have these Bushman walks where you can explore early Bushman caves with awesome Bushman paintings. That's quite interesting. Then you have Sossusvlei campsite. I think that's the one that is inside of the park, so you can get to drive earlier to go into Sossusvlei. Do that. It's the best campsite to get the most out of your photographic adventure if that's the main goal. You also have a camp called the Quiver Camp. That's outside of the park, but it's an awesome camp where you can book these really cool chalets or huts or whatever. They have a pool there, it's very neatly organized, and you have Remsbook coming in to drink or just walking around in this camp. Absolutely awesome, very orderly, very beautiful. If you're crossing over to Namibia from South Africa in the south, you have a really cool campsite just outside Keetmanshoop, which is called Gareth's Rest Camp or Quiver Tree Camp. I can't remember exactly, but you'll find the link down below. Awesome little camp. We had it all to ourselves, and there were all these really cool quiver trees there. So as you can see, you have so many places in this lovely country. It's very safe, and if you're ever going to Africa, Namibia is the place to be. That's why I give this country a score of 9 out of 10, because it's so orderly, get fast responses, everything works great to drive there, the roads are good, and it's easy-ish to book the parks. They have good facilities in the parks, they're also well maintained, relatively good service, great game viewing in the parks, and that's why I can highly recommend it. The drawback for me is that it can get really crowded, and you can't really start driving out of the camps inside of Etosha at sunrise. That would have been awesome. You have to wait at least, I think, 45 minutes after the sun rises, then you can start your driving. And me as a photographer, I want to be out as early as possible to catch that great morning light, or be in a position where I want to do some photography when I have the best possible light, of course. And now we are getting close to the end of the video. If you have any further questions, you can ask them below. If I forgot something or you want to know something else, leave them down below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, that would be awesome, and I shall see you in the next one. Now the sun is setting over there. It's really harsh light, but yeah, that's what we get here. I have to work with what I have.